Okay, this is my third summary for The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. So it talked about two different things. In chapter 8 that I took from there was that a movement starts because of the social habits of friendships and the strong ties between close acquaintances. It grows because of the habits of a community and the weak ties that hold neighbors and neighborhoods and clans together. It endures because the movement's leader gives participants new habits that create a fresh sense of identity and a feeling of ownership. In chapter 9, it was about, the neurology of free will, and that basically habits control us, and learning their different parts, the cue, the routine, the reward, the craving, we can only then begin to change them. And then also, equally as important as if you believe you can change them, then you can. But if you don't have any faith in it, then you're likely to fail, or it would only last very short term. You would always end up back at that habit. So for habit formation and communities, I think it's kind of just like for families. So it goes beyond the families, and it's just like what you are in. Like, it says somewhere in the book that like people do like things. They tend to hang out with like people and people that look like them. So maybe like going to church, volunteering, acts of service together. So you have those close ties with those people in your family, and maybe family to family in the church, which then there's weak ties within the church. Or you are a kid that goes to school and you are in the same, sports, you go to the same school, you go to the same church, you volunteer together, you play in the same sport together. So those habits maybe work together. So like you practice the same way, you go to bed the same way, you do the same eatings. Everything the same or similar to get to a like cause. So going to church, winning the game, helping others. Drinkers are kind of like the same thing. Like they have habits. They drink every day. So maybe their cue is to wake up. They've got the shake, so they've got to go and satiate that. They get up every morning. They get dressed. They go down to the liquor store, buy their bottle and their mixer or whatever else, and they come back. And they have their drinks for the day until they're drunk, and then maybe they go to the bar and socialize because they need the social interaction, or they've forgotten enough now. Habit in communities are when like a leader or leaders lead by example and kind of have peer pressure to change. So often it is the weak ties and the strong ties within your community that will be that innate peer pressure, because you are at risk to lose a reputation with somebody. So again, like church, you have a pastor, he calls out during the sermon that he needs more volunteers for something for the church. So somebody raises their hand, then another person raises their hand, and then soon you see a whole bunch of other people raise their hand. And it wasn't necessarily that they were all going to volunteer, but they felt the innate peer pressure from their close and strong ties and the reputation that they might get or no longer receive both ways, whether they volunteered or not. So that is kind of a habit. And then I guess in a real life community, it's really easy to pick on this, is the Black Lives Matters movement. Like from the time when, Michael Brown was shot in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, I guess to say the close ties was Michael Brown himself, the family that surrounded him, and Michael Brown's family, and any other ties that they had in the community. It just kind of ripple effects. Combine that with the media coverage and the Facebook coverage and the habits of us now being dependent upon communicating with people on Facebook, that kind of created an area to congregate and make protest plans. So it kind of became an area to show your weak ties, and then at the very end, as a black community itself, it was almost, you probably, if you do not agree with it or support it in some way, whether you believe in it or not, that you're not seen very nice or supportive to the black community. That is so, I guess I was going to say, so like leaders that could hold the weak ties together are black leader, activists, for like hip hop, like Beyonce and Pharrell with his stop, don't shoot kind of thing. He made a habit of, a new thing to say, be nonviolent, stop, don't shoot. So whenever a black man encounters a police officer for any reason, he was saying to use, the stop, don't shoot. Whether that was a true thing that happened, that's a new habit or a new leader. And other Hollywood people like Samuel L. Jackson and Jesse Williams, who use their popularity in the spotlight to promote their Black Lives Matter support. And so again, this is peer pressure that's handed down. So a lot of people think they're great actors and look up to them, so their voice is heard more, and so they have this platform to speak, and then it's peer pressure mixed in with the media coverage that kind of makes it where it's almost cool to be part of it, whether you agreed with it or not or passionate about it. That could be one thing, is the peer pressure that everyone else is in it, and I'm black, so I must need to be in this. That, if you don't, you risk your friendships, you risk networking, you risk business prospects and respect with people as a whole. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody in trying to say that. I was just trying to show habits of the community and how they affect, and realizing all of that. So hopefully no one took offense.